Hello and welcome, Soul Tribe, my family. Thank you so much for tuning in to Peace in a Pod. I'm Loretta, and for those that are returning listeners, thank you so much for returning and joining us today. And for any new listeners, welcome and thank you for being here. Thank you for tuning in to this month's special edition of Thoughtful Thursday with co-host Ryer. So today I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the challenges that we've been through and how these challenges aren't meant to tear us down and make us feel like we can't get past them, but they're more to help us grow and become stronger, wiser, and more resilient. They're not punishments. And sometimes we kind of let those things get to us to the point where we just feel like we can't move through it. We can't get past it. And like, this is it. You throw your hands up and you just want to call it quits.
I'm not intending to be the one who says that hardships aren't hard, but I do believe that there are things that push us and grow us in the areas that we need to grow in. Oftentimes we take a hard time as simply being a hard time, but sometimes we need to take the things or the path that we're on and lean into it to grow to be a better us.
Yeah, and I think that, I know when I went through some difficult times, which is kind of like the whole history of the birth of this podcast, was the simple fact that I was going through a lot of challenges. And I now call them experiences because I see them as things that I needed to experience in order to get to where I am at this moment. And when I was going through all of that stuff in the past, I kind of felt alone, and it was a struggle. I mean, I did, try to talk to my friends and talk to my family and try to like see if I could find a way to get through it and not feel alone in that experience. But it was difficult, and it was a somewhat of a lonely road. But I knew that everything that I was going through was for this, it was to place me in a position where I had to build myself from within and find that strength. And once I was able to get to that point, and it took a while, it took a long, long while. Actually, today I feel like I'm at a place where I don't struggle as much as I did then. And I think it was me just misinterpreting what I was going through and seeing it as like the world was coming down on me.
I think that hard times just produces a level of perseverance. So, once we begin to recognize where we are now and how we deal with hardships when we come upon them now, it's based off the strength that we gained from the last situation. Mm-hmm. I do have a question though, because you mentioned something about friends and just kind of speaking to them about the hard time that you were having. Do you think that sometimes we are placed in certain seasons to go through things alone? And even when we feel like this person may be good enough to give feedback on what I'm going through, sometimes I think that our paths puts us on a path of isolation, so we're able to hear clearly on what God is trying to tell us to do, or that thing where we at this moment we don't need the influence of others, we don't need the opinions of others, because if we're trying to get down to the nitty-gritty of who we are, how do we define or learn or grow into the person that we're supposed to be if we're constantly swayed by the thoughts that other people have of us? Now, I do understand, just kind of someone to lean on at the time, but we also have to recognize who is supposed to be that listening ear and be that person for this particular path or this particular season in our life.
Yeah. And that's a good point, because when we're going through the things that we're going through, even though it is lonely and difficult, it is our unique role that we have to stick to. And we're not meant to follow that crowd. We're called to experience whatever we're experiencing because it is meant for us. And you're right. It's not always, for us to reach out to others. We are meant to be in that moment, experience that, because it is part of our growth. It's part of the building process. And other people aren't being built the same way that we are. So the experiences that we're going through is not meant for them. It's meant for us. And sometimes it is meant to be alone. And I do think that my experiences were mine alone. And not all my friends, not to say that they're not there for me, but it wasn't meant for me to share all of the stuff that I was going through with them. It was meant for me to experience it, figure out what I need to do for myself to get myself to the next point. It wasn't just meant for me to be like, oh, poor me, why is this going on and this, that. All I needed to do was sit in that moment of what I was going through and figure out what I was supposed to gather from that experience.
Counsel, like sometimes you just have to learn to cancel out the noise. And the noise can sometimes be friends or loved ones when you're going through a particular season. And maybe the connection that you have with those people while you're going through that season, sometimes when, you're looking for advice or you're looking for somebody to push you in the right direction, I think another thing that's important is to see where they are in their life too. Because I hate to say like misery loves company or whatever the case may be, but just imagine you having these plans and these things that you want to do, and that's over your life, that's supposed to be greatness, and then now you feel because I'm going through this thing and I need somebody to talk to, I end up connecting with somebody who they're depressed right now. Their life isn't going the way that they intended for it to go. They're not, growing into the person that they're supposed to be. So to be honest with you, how I look at it, how do you expect the most positive and uplifting response from somebody who is not in that particular space currently? You get what I'm saying? I feel like it's just like an exchange of energies, that's you can tell. You've had conversations with people before where you're excited about something and they don't give you back the same excitement that you gave to them, and you're like, okay, let me throw my hands up and take a step back, and maybe I shouldn't have shared that. I think that sometimes the run is just personal. What you're doing in your life is just personal, and it doesn't have anything to do with anybody else, and it's just requiring for you to listen to those tough voices in your head that's telling you that you need to do more of this or you need to do less of this, and go into it, lean into that thing, because like I said, not everybody may be equipped for the season that you are in your life, or they just may be on a completely different path, and you may not get the response that you're expecting to get, just because you thought, I need to run this by somebody else. And does their response determine what you do with the information that they've just given you? If you know that you have this path and you connect with somebody that isn't like-minded or not, or isn't in that space mentally or emotionally, and they dump those frustrations or they dump that doubt on you, how do you proceed on with this thing that you had already had the idea of going into before you gave them a call?
Yeah. No, that's a very good point. I don't know. I feel like most people just share because they're just looking. Some people might just be looking for someone to kind of, lend an ear. Or others might be looking for someone to fix it. And I like to think of myself as the type of friend that does help people get through their problems. If they bring something to me and they're looking for some kind of advice, for some reason I'm like very good at tapping into something to find good, valid information that they need to help them kind of move a little further and kind of lift their spirits a little more. but I'm not good at doing that for myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's kind of why I share sometimes. It's just simply looking for a different perspective to help me see things a different way. And that's one of the reasons why I like talking with you, because whenever we talk about situations, you definitely like open my eyes to something, and it's just like, well, how did I not even think of that?
Yeah.
And I think with the whole like-minded, that part helps, because I know that you're not, you know, in a place where you're like trying to like bring me down.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you're trying to help me see things on a brighter side.
Yeah.
And because you have that optimistic mindset, and you know that there's things that we face that are helping develop us, I know that you're going to help me get to the point and the path, stay on the path that I need to get on and not feel defeated.
Yeah.
And I think if we just keep those type of friends close, and if we're experiencing something and maybe can't see a way out, I don't think that there would be anything wrong with sharing with those individuals. But I do think that when we're in a situation, it is definitely up to us to find that strength and pull ourselves through, and look at it as a growth, a stepping stone, and not a challenge or a setback. We have to change the way we're thinking about the things that we're experiencing in order to get past those. And I'm actually going to do another episode on some of the specific techniques that I used on how I got out of certain situations that I was experiencing a while back. And I never really explained what I did, but I am going to do another episode and kind of go into depth of the very specific things that I utilized to get myself past those points. But I think that some people just don't. I think a lot of folks struggle with getting like what it is they need to know from the situation that they're experiencing. And
I think just too busy trying to survive the situation, you know, like I think that surviving is I'm literally doing any and everything to get out of this season of the life that I'm in.
Yeah.
I may be ignoring some things. I may be taking shortcuts. Whatever the case is, to get through this season, I'm only surviving.
Yeah.
And I think that, like I said, I keep saying that it's necessary for us to lean into things, because if we're not really getting the full understanding of the reasons why or what we could have learned from the situation, then I think that a lot of times we probably spend a lot of time just like trying to avoid it, but I'm carrying through as much as I can. I say be intentional. Things that has helped me get through, you know, certain tough points in my life is being intentional. Things that I can't control, I just can't control it. But things that I can control, I work at those things as hard as I can each and every day. And if honestly, if I can't do it that day, I give myself some grace. But I think that those small moves in your life compounds to something greater. But just surviving and just getting through and just not having a strategic way on how you deal with things, I think that that's when you lose the lesson in things, you know. Because if you're just getting through, then, you know, there was no strategy. There was no extra thought on, you know, there was no self-awareness of, you know, whatever that situation is. It's just, I just need this part of my life to be over with. And then we get on the other side.
You know, when you say that, it just makes me think about like how like certain things like keep repeating themselves, because what needs to be seen is not.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, if you're in that situation, it's like, why can't I get out? Why is it so, you know, so much worse than it was last week or whatever? And it's because, like you say, the focus is on trying to like survive the situation and not really what the situation actually is.
Yeah.
And I think changing that focus is key.
Focus has been another one of the things that has kept me going. It's like I have my eye on something, and whatever this thing is, I know that I might be faced with some trials in order for me to achieve this thing, but I'm focused. I have something in mind. I have my eye on something, and that has my focus and my intention has really reshaped the way that I just kind of view life in general. I think that over these past couple of months, and which is really been months, that I've been having like a lot of I would say, an eye-opening experience to things, and it's made me change my perception on how I view with adversity and how I view, things, just, things that I'm just going through, and my approach to it. I recognize that I've been in bad habits of being avoidant, or I've been in bad habits of sometimes maybe oversharing and maybe sharing to the wrong people because I feel like I need an ear. With my focus and with my intention, it has just some way or shape or form has like literally put a shift in my entire life, or just kind of how I go about things.
Yeah. I also think taking time to just kind of sit with things and do like some internal work. See what inside of you needs improving, where the work needs to happen on the inside. And I think that will help people get to the point of changing their perspective. Because if there's certain things that you allow to take control of your life, I mean, you basically just lose control altogether. But I think if you change that perspective by looking within and finding those parts of you that need a little work, then you'll be able to get to that point where you can build that strength that you need, and you could be your own support system. Once you tap into the energy and the parts of you that need to be developed and brought to the light, you'll be able to get to that point where you're building that resilience to get past those struggles, those challenges that you're kind of sitting in, but not necessarily just focusing on like what it is you're going through, but what is it that you're supposed to get from that situation. And I think if we start thinking about experiences on a deeper level and not as like a challenge, but more of what am I supposed to gather from all of this? I think that can help us get to a more calmer, not necessarily relaxed, but at least past that part of what it is that we're going through. And I think a lot of people struggle with getting to that point in life.
When you said something about inner work, I don't know if I can articulate this well, but when you mentioned something about inner work, I think that is a very, very important piece of things, because a lot of us are just tied to identity based off of like what we look like, or maybe our attributes, or maybe how we dress, or whatever the case may be. And sometimes we try to operate in whatever we believe something to be based off of who we are on the outside. Like, because you know me by looking at me, you get what I'm saying? Like, I mean, you also know how I am, like, I guess internally in a way, quote unquote, I'm doing quote fingers, y'all. Based off of like how I treat people, like my attitude and stuff like that. But I think that sometimes people get so wrapped up into feeling like they don't know how to be themselves. And when I say be themselves, I mean like inside out, that they're living from, you get what you get first off. Like, you get what you get when you see me. My job gets what they get when they see me. My career gets what they get when they see me. My goals get what it gets when it sees me. It's like you're trying to tie so much to, and oftentimes really not chasing after your dreams or going after the thing that you really desire in your heart, because you don't even look compatible to be the person that's being the gym trainer. You don't look compatible to the person that's trying to be the model. So you go off of this, or you have identified yourself based off of the way that you look and not internally. So now you ain't even really going after the things that you want to in life, because everybody else thinks that you have the shape of being this, or you have the the appearance of being this or being that, rather than your heart says a little different. You get what I'm saying? Like, you're supposed to be the person at the daycare with the kids, but instead people view you in this manner. So you're just doing what you think that they think that you should do.
Okay, yeah.
You know, so
kind
I think
fitting the image of what
yeah,
others are expecting, and not really living and being your true authentic self.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah. I actually think I've gotten to the point where I am, so I'll say this. I think a lot of what I went through over the past year or so has been part of my journey to get back to my authentic self. There's been a lot of things that happened like over the years that I feel like have taken me away from who I truly am. And I kind of suppressed a lot of those parts of me. And now my purpose is to be that version of myself.
Everything that you push down is the thing that's
but there was things that was like challenging me that put me in a place of suppressing those parts of me.
Yeah.
And I wasn't supposed to do that.
Yeah.
And I was not thinking of it that way. But now there's like things that I have experienced that have like head on placed me in situations where those parts of me had to be exposed.
Yeah.
And when it started happening, it was a little scary, because it's like, well, if I do this, there might be consequences.
Mm-hmm.
But then it's like, if I didn't do anything, something else would happen that was worse than the previous thing. So it's like, okay, I don't know. I feel like if I do something, there might be consequences. And then eventually it just got to the point where I was like, no, I feel like I have to let that part of me come to the light. And the moment I did, whatever that experience that I was going through just dissolved.
Yeah.
And then that's when I started realizing what it was that I was facing, and not everything that I was facing. It was just bits and pieces. It started like the puzzle started coming together. And it just got me to the point where now I feel like I am living my true authentic self. And I'm sure that there's still a few pieces in there that I haven't brought to the light yet, but I think the majority of my authenticity has been brought to the light.
Well, I'm about to be 30 this year. And
Woo-hoo.
One of the things that I've been saying to myself is like, I want to be everything that I dream of being. Like, I really want to walk into that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I think that I've been identified in a certain way where people have an expectation that I'm either supposed to be doing this or doing that. And I think one of my biggest things, like I keep saying, like intention, focus, and then also trying to live from the inside out. Like I'm now going into about to be 30, and I'm now finally feeling like I'm finally whoever this person is. Like, I'm finally waking up to see it. I'm finally waking up to see my potential. Mm-hmm. I'm kind of finally waking up to see like true beauty in me, like all the things, because I'm working from the inside out. Like, I'm not just taking a look in the mirror and trying to dress up this thing and like, okay, so because I show up as this and this is what I am. Like, I don't know. Like, I just kind of been feeling this thing of being my true authentic self that is just like, it's making life more, making me view it in a different perspective. Like, even when I go through stuff, I'm like, oh, this is shaping me, because one, I've been through so much before, and the going through that I went through then is the tone that was set for the becoming of who I am. Yeah. So it's just like, to know and identify those things when I go through it now. No, of course, nobody wants to go through it. No one wants to be crying. Nobody wants to be challenged. But I do believe that those are the things that has made me the great old me that I am. Yeah. And now that I'm identifying it and about to be 30, sometimes I feel like, have I wasted or lost a lot of years by trying to show up as whoever I'm supposed, thinking that I'm supposed to show up as, rather than showing up as my true authentic self, you know?
But I think society plays a role in that as well.
So tough.
Because you're trying to fit this look or image or whatever. People are like, oh, if you work in this environment, this is how you need to behave, or this is how you need to act. We get so caught up in like what other people say and how other people say we should behave and act that we just lose ourselves. And we just kind of go with what the image and the perspective of others is, and just kind of allow that to be the life that we live.
Like falling in line.
Yeah.
Falling in line to what other people's expectations are. Falling in line to what somebody else's dreams may be. Yeah. You know, like you get so caught up in what the world is doing that, in one, I think one of the biggest things is that can be distracting is seeing the success of other people and feeling like, in order for one, I think that sometimes when you haven't identified yourself and what you feel like your purpose is, it's easy to get caught up in what somebody else is doing and feeling like, because the rest of the world is doing a thing and being successful in this area, I need to fall in line, because that's the only way that this is what people see. Like everybody is doing this thing. Everybody likes this thing that this person is doing. So instead of being my true authentic self, I'll fall in line with what everybody else is doing because this thing is successful. And I think that sometimes we chase the wrong things, because if we're only chasing success based off of what it looks like and not the person that is making this particular thing successful.
Yeah, I think when we think about our life, it's a testament to the power of our faith, perseverance, and purpose. And you had mentioned like the person within the vessel is like the person, the authentic person, and not just necessarily being viewed for who you are from the outside, but from the inside. And it kind of got me thinking about like some of the great figures in history that inspired change and fostered hope and ignited movements. And some of those individuals, they faced ridicule, opposition, and moments of doubt, but they didn't allow that to stop them from getting their message across. Even though they may have been like on that path by themselves, they stayed true to who they were and what they were meant to do, despite all the fear and opposition that was coming toward them. And I think if we just kind of make sure we just keep our minds in a good place of not allowing the outside world to influence who we are and who we're supposed to be, then we can get to that point of where our purpose is in life. And we can continue to build on ourselves internally and externally. But you'll be able to have that self-awareness and be able to dig deeper from within in order to push through. Our path, though difficult, is sacred. You are here for a reason, divinely guided to spread hope, inspire others, and illuminate the way forward. Every challenge you face, every act of kindness, every moment of faith you hold is shaping a brighter future, not just for you, but for those around you. Thanks again for tuning in to Thoughtful Thursday. I'm Loretta.
And I'm right here.
And we will catch you guys next time. Bye.
And that is food for thought.
Thank you all so much for tuning in to Peace in a Pod. Please do comment, like, follow, share, rate, subscribe, all of those things. And I will catch you guys next time. Thanks for tuning in. Bye.